Welcome to the Deep Dive, episode 15. It's October 2nd, 2025, and we're ready for our deep dive into, well, the big stories happening right now.
Exactly. And look, we know a lot of you are tuning in to sharpen your English skills, which is great. So we're aiming for that sweet spot, accessible, clear info, but still really detailed.
Yeah, we'll try to keep a good pace, not too fast. But hey, if we do get carried away, just hit that 0.75x speed button. Easy.
Perfect for when you're out for a walk, at the gym, or maybe just chilling at home.
Right. Our whole goal here is to go beyond just the headlines.
We want to unpack what's really going on, give you the full picture of the context.
Okay, so today we've got quite a mix. In finance, a big one, the U.S. government shutdown is causing ripples, and at the same time, Brazil's shaking up its tax system.
Then we'll jump into sports. The 2026 FIFA World Cup. I mean, the sheer scale is incredible, but so are the challenges and controversies already popping up.
Oh, yeah. And in entertainment, it's like the Wild West all over again, but on streaming. We'll look at this new Netflix show, The Abandons, and a bit of drama behind the scenes there.
Then something really different for culture and art. A new Frida Kahlo museum just opened in Mexico City, but it focuses on her early life, which is, well, fascinating.
Definitely. And finally, technology and science. Apple seems to be making a huge pivot, moving away from its big VR headset towards smart glasses. We'll dig into that.
Quite a lineup.
Okay, let's dive right into that lead story, the United States federal government shutdown. It kicked off yesterday, October 1st. Funding ran out when a temporary measure, what they call a continuing resolution, expired. So today is day 2.
And the impact was, well, immediate. Sources are confirming over 803,000 federal workers are now furloughed.
Furloughed. Maybe we should quickly explain that.
Good point. Yeah, furloughed basically means you're put on temporary unpaid leave. You're still technically employed, but you're not working, and crucially, not getting paid. And there's often no guarantee you'll get that back pay later.
Wow, 800,000 people suddenly without income. That's huge. And the politics behind it sound pretty nasty.
Oh, extremely bitter.
Yeah.
You had Republican proposals for basically a straightforward 7-week funding extension. That failed, didn't get the votes.
Why not?
Well, Democrats argued it just kicked the can down the road without addressing really critical needs.
Okay, so what did the Democrats propose?
Their bill also failed. It was trying to tie the funding to two main things. First, extending subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. That's the program helping millions get health insurance.
Great.
And second, they wanted to reverse some specific cuts made to Medicaid, which is, the government health program for low-income folks, people with disabilities, the elderly.
So both sides dug in and nothing passed.
Exactly. And the language used, it got pretty heated. Republicans accused Democrats of demanding things like free health care for undocumented immigrants.
Is that accurate?
Well, that claim is heavily disputed. Many analysts and reporters say the actual Democratic proposals were focused on existing health care programs for U.S. citizens, not that specific issue. But, that's the kind of rhetoric flying around.
It feels like there's more going on than just disagreements over spending levels this time, though.
You're right. There's this undercurrent of deep distrust. The Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, basically said publicly he doesn't trust that the current administration would even honor a funding deal if they reached one.
Why such a fundamental lack of trust? That seems unusual, even for politics.
It boils down to something called presidential rescission's power. It's a bit technical, but historically, it let a president propose cuts to money day. Congress already approved, but Congress got the final say.
Okay.
But this administration has been using it really aggressively, trying to make permanent cuts to programs, things Congress already funded, often hitting areas like foreign aid or public broadcasting.
I see. So Democrats are worried they could make a deal.
And then the administration could just use this rescission's power right after to cut the very things they just agreed to fund. It makes the whole negotiation feel pointless to them. It's really a fight over who controls the money, Congress or the president.
Okay, let's talk about the immediate fallout. What does this actually mean for people day to day and for the economy? First big thing seems to be this economic data blackout.
Yeah, that's a major worry for financial markets. The Department of Labor, the Department of Commerce, they've just stopped releasing economic data, full stop.
So no September jobs report. That's usually a huge indicator.
Exactly. It won't be published. And they're not even collecting the data right now.
Yeah.
So we're flying blind on the economy's health right when things feel a bit uncertain anyway.
It makes it tough for everyone, from investors to the Federal Reserve trying to set interest rates. And the human cost, it's already hitting.
It is. Things like Medicare, Medicaid payments, the actual money that keeps flowing because it's mandatory spending. But the support services, getting replacement card, checking benefits, that's slowing right down because the staff aren't there.
But the really awful news seems to be about the WIC program.
Yeah, WIC, that's the Women, Infants, and Children Nutrition Program. It looks like it's going to be paused.
Paused. What does that entail?
It means nearly 7 million people, pregnant women, new moms, babies, young kids from low-income families might lose access to essential food assistance and health checks. It's a direct and potentially tragic outcome of this political fight.
Just devastating. And other government functions are shutting down, too.
We're already seeing layoffs.
Yeah.
Notices went out on day one, October 1st, at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And the White House apparently fired most of the staff at the National Council on the Humanities.
Wow. What about travel, airport security?
That's another huge concern. You've got almost 58,500 TSA agents, security screeners, plus over 13,000 air traffic controllers. They're deemed essential, so they have to work.
Well, without pay.
Without pay. That's the kicker.
That sounds like a recipe for problems.
Sure.
Didn't we see issues with this in the last big shutdown a few years back?
We absolutely did. During the 2018-2019 shutdown, you saw a rise in staff calling out sick. They couldn't afford gas, childcare, basic stuff to get to an unpaid job.
And that caused chaos at airports.
Big time. Major delays, even ground stops at places like LaGuardia Airport in New York. The worry is that morale plummets, staffing gets thin, and it starts impacting safety and just the basic functioning of air travel.
And even basic community support is feeling the strain, especially around Washington, D.C.
Yeah, local food pantries there are reporting a big jump in demand already. They're saying it's not just the shutdown hitting finances, but also
fear.
Increased fear among immigrant families about immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, making arrests. So some families are apparently afraid to even leave home to get food. It's a grim combination of factors.
It really paints a picture of how political deadlock creates real hardship and adds this layer of economic uncertainty. Okay, while the United States is dealing with that, let's shift focus. Other countries are actively trying to attract money. Brazil, for instance, made some pretty big changes to its financial and tax rules back in June.
Yeah, it's interesting. This provisional measure, number 1,303.03/35, and some related decrees. They kind of do two things at once. They tighten taxes in some places, but then offer these really significant breaks in others, clearly trying to pull in foreign investment in this kind of uncertain global environment.
Okay, so where are taxes going up? You mentioned withholding tax, WHT, on something called interest on net equity, INE.
Right. INE payments. The tax on those is going up from 15% to 20%. That kicks in January 2026. Now, for companies, INE was a way to kind of deduct notional interest on their own equity from their taxable income. It lowered their tax bill.
So making it more expensive makes that strategy less appealing for businesses.
Exactly. It reduces the benefit of structuring finances that way.
Yeah.
And then for individual investors, there's a new tax hitting some investments that used to be completely tax-free.
Which ones?
Investments linked to Brazilian real estate and agribusiness. They have all these acronyms, LCI, LCA, CRI, CRA, LCD. These were popular because they were tax exempt. Now they'll face a new 5% income tax.
Why were they exempt before? To encourage investment in those areas?
Precisely. Boost agriculture, boost housing. The government's reasoning for the new tax is likely just to broaden the tax base, get more revenue. But crucially, they seem to have realized they couldn't just slap it on existing investments.
Right, that would upset people who bought them expecting them to be tax-free.
Exactly. So this new 5% tax only applies to new investments, ones issued from January 2026 onwards. If you already hold them, you're okay. They stay tax exempt.
That seems fair. Brazil also changed the tax rate for other financial stuff, including crypto.
Yeah, they simplified things. Now, there's mostly a flat 17.5% withholding tax on financial investments generally, and that includes cryptocurrencies. Before, it was this complicated sliding scale, rates up to 22.5% depending how long you held the investment. So 17.5% is simpler and, for many, lower.
Okay, simplification, some increases. But you mentioned big breaks, too. What was the major incentive they offered?
This was the big one, the move that really got global investors talking.
Yeah.
It's about the tax on financial operations, the IOFFX, but specifically when foreign money leaves Brazil.
Okay.
They slashed the IOFFX rate on the return of foreign capital invested in Brazilian stocks, slashed it from 3.5% all the way down to 0%. And that change was immediate, back in June.
0% tax on taking your investment profits out. That sounds incredibly attractive. Who benefits most?
Oh, it's huge for big players.
Yeah.
Institutional investors, private equity funds, multinational companies, anyone bringing significant capital into the Brazilian stock market.
And the goal is just attract more money.
Pretty much. It sends a massive signal. Brazil's open for business, bring your money here,
Yeah.
and it also encourages repatriation. Maybe investors had money parked outside Brazil because taking it out was costly. Now they might bring it back in knowing they can get it out again tax-free later. It removes a major barrier to foreign investment.
A really bold move in contrast to the U.S. situation. Okay, let's switch gears completely. From the flow of money to the flow of people for sports. The 2026 FIFA World Cup, Canada, Mexico, the United States co-hosting. This sounds like a logistical beast.
Oh, beast is probably an understatement. It's completely unprecedented in scale. First off, it's the first World Cup with 48 teams. That's up from 32.
16 extra teams.
Yeah. And it makes Mexico the first country ever to host the Men's World Cup 3 times, which is quite a milestone. The U.S. last hosted in 1994, and it's Canada's first time hosting the men's tournament.
So more teams means more games.
A lot more games. We go from 64 matches in the old format to 104. 104 games, played across 16 cities, 11 in the United States, some in Canada, some in Mexico, and it'll last 39 days. The final is set for MetLife Stadium near New York City.
And the tournament format itself is changing because of the extra teams, right?
Big time. Instead of 8 groups of 4, you'll have 12 groups of 4. Now, the top 2 teams from each group still go through automatically.
Okay.
But then you also take the 8 best third-place teams. They advance, too, into a brand new round of 32 knockout stage.
Wow, 8 third-place teams getting through. That must change how teams approach the group stage, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Before, if you lost your first game or two, you were often pretty much done. Now, you could lose, maybe win one, draw one, and still have a decent shot at advancing as one of those best third-place teams.
Yeah.
It keeps more games meaningful for longer. Goal difference becomes even more critical.
Sounds exciting, but also more matches. What about the players? That's more workload.
It is. Teams reaching the semifinals, or the final, will now play 8 matches total, compared to 7 before. FIFA insists, though, that the overall rest period for players between games and the time before they have to be released back to clubs will be the same as previous World Cups. They say they've worked the schedule carefully over those 39 days.
We'll see how that plays out. Now, running this across 3 huge countries, the infrastructure needs must be immense. You mentioned playing surfaces being an issue.
A major headache, especially in the U.S. venues. 8 of the 16 stadiums chosen currently have permanent artificial turf, like fake grass.
And FIFA won't allow that for the World Cup.
Nope. FIFA rules demand natural grass for all matches. So those 8 stadiums have to rip out their artificial turf and install real natural grass just for the tournament. It's a complex and expensive temporary conversion.
And some of these stadiums are indoors, right? Like domed stadiums. How do you even grow grass inside?
That's the million-dollar question. 4 venues, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Vancouver, are indoor stadiums, some with retractable roofs. Growing natural grass inside, often without much direct sunlight, requires some serious science.
Like special lights and care.
Exactly. They're working with universities like the University of Tennessee and Michigan State, who specialize in turf science, to figure out the best way to grow and maintain high-quality grass pitches inside these enclosed environments. It's a real agricultural challenge.
Beyond the grass, there are other controversies brewing. Labor issues in Mexico.
Yes, this involves the renovation work at the legendary Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Back in March 2025, a global trade union, the Building and Woodworkers International BWI, they accused FIFA of interfering with a planned inspection.
Interfering how?
They claim FIFA actually blocked labor inspectors from accessing the renovation site to check on working conditions.
Why is that a big deal?
Well, BWI says it raises serious concerns about potential violations of workers' rights, safety, fair pay, decent conditions. It immediately draws parallels to the controversies around labor practices during the build-up to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. The union wants transparency and guarantees that workers are being treated properly.
Okay, switching to the U.S. side of things, there was some political noise, too. Former President Trump made threats about moving games.
He did. He publicly said he might move World Cup matches out of cities he called very unsafe, specifically naming New York and Los Angeles.
Can he actually do that?
Nope. That was mostly political bluster. A FIFA vice president quickly came out and clarified. The President of the United States has absolutely zero authority to move World Cup games. That power belongs solely to FIFA.
Good to know. But amidst the politics and problems, there are some positive things happening, like community investment. Airbnb is involved.
Yeah, this is a nice counterpoint. Airbnb is putting over $1 million into the New York, New Jersey host area's legacy project. It's part of a bigger $5 million commitment they've made across all the North American host cities.
What's the money for in New York and New Jersey?
It's specifically funding 5 brand new mini soccer pitches. Small, accessible fields built in neighborhoods across New York City's outer boroughs, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, plus one in New Jersey.
Ah, so leaving something tangible behind for the community.
Exactly. The idea is to boost grassroots soccer, make it easier for kids to play, and hopefully leave a lasting positive impact long after the tournament's over.
They even had a local hero involved in the announcement,
He
right?
did. Carly Lloyd, the 2-time World Cup champion who grew up in New Jersey, was there. She talked about how watching the 1999 Women's World Cup final at Giant Stadium inspired her. The hope is these pitches might inspire the next Carly Lloyd. It's about legacy.
That's a great initiative. Okay, from the world stage of soccer, let's narrow our focus to the streaming world specifically. The Western genre seems to be booming.
It really is. It's having a massive resurgence, and Netflix is jumping in with both feet with a new high-profile series called The Abandons. It's got Gillian Anderson and Lena Headey leading the cast.
Big names. What's the premise? The first images looked pretty gritty.
Yeah, they're definitely leaning into that. Looks like a classic, intense, bloody frontier feud kind of story.
Mhm.
But the production itself seems to have had its own drama.
Oh, what happened?
The show's creator, Kurt Sutter, actually left the project mid-filming.
Mid-filming. That's usually not a good sign. Sutter. He created Sons of Anarchy, right? Known for being intense.
That's him. Hugely successful show, but Sutter has a reputation for being, well, difficult. Reports suggest he left The Abandons because of a creative struggle with execs. People who've worked with him before have sometimes described him, maybe unfairly, maybe not, using terms like psycho showrunner. He apparently demanded a lot of control.
So he clashed with Netflix and walked. Or was pushed.
The details are a bit murky, but the outcome is he's out. The interesting thing is the show did finish filming after he left, so it raises questions, whose vision is it ultimately? How much did it change after the creator departed during production?
It also makes you wonder, is the market rewarding that kind of difficult genius's persona? Do studios put up with it because they think that intensity is key to getting a hit show?
That's a really good question. It seems like sometimes, yeah. But this show, The Abandons, it's not just being made in a vacuum. It's clearly Netflix's big play to compete in the Western space against a dominant rival.
You mean Taylor Sheridan's universe? Yellowstone and all its spin-offs?
Exactly. Sheridan shows, especially Yellowstone and the prequel 1883, are massive hits for Paramount Plus Wiz. They've basically defined the modern streaming Western.
So Netflix is trying to build its own Western empire with The Abandons.
Precisely. It's a high-stakes battle for eyeballs and subscribers in a really popular genre. They're throwing big money, big stars, and apparently navigating some big creative personalities to try and capture that same magic.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift from fictional frontiers to a real historical figure. A new museum about Frida Kahlo has just opened in Mexico City, but it offers a different perspective, right?
Yeah, this is really interesting for anyone interested in art history or just Frida Kahlo herself. The Museo Casa Kahlo, which people are calling Casa Roja, or Red House, opened its doors just recently, September 27th. It's in Coyoacan, the same neighborhood as her famous Blue House.
Right next door, isn't it? So why a separate museum? What's different?
That's the key. The famous Casa Azul, the Blue House Museum, everyone knows that one. It focuses almost entirely on Frida's adult life, her art, her iconic image, her relationship with Diego Rivera, her politics, her suffering.
The established Frida narrative?
Exactly. The Casa Roja, the new Red House Museum, deliberately takes a different tack. It focuses specifically on her early years, her childhood, her family background, the things that shaped her before she became the global icon.
So more about Frida the person, less about Frida the legend.
That seems to be the idea. It puts a big emphasis on her relationship with her father, Guillermo Kahlo. He was a photographer, and the museum highlights how he really encouraged her artistic side early on, teaching her about composition, about seeing the world through a lens.
I didn't know that about her father. That adds a whole new layer.
It really does.
Yeah.
It aims to give you that foundation, the personal context before the fame and the pain that often defines her story. It's about understanding the roots of her creativity.
And this was driven by her family.
Yes, significantly. Frida Kahlo's own descendants, including her grandniece, Mara Romeo Kahlo, were heavily involved in developing the museum. They wanted to share this more intimate, familial perspective.
The design must reflect that intimacy too, I imagine.
Apparently so. The architect, Mariana Doet Zapita Orozco, transformed the site, and the exhibition design was done by the Rockwell Group. Reports suggest the focus isn't on grand scale, but on creating a space where you feel a closer connection to her formative experiences. A really thoughtful addition to the Kahlo landscape.
Sounds like a must visit. Okay, finally today, let's talk tech. There's been a pretty surprising strategy shift reported at Apple. They're moving away from their big VR headset push.
Yeah, this is a significant development. Reports indicate Apple has actually stopped working on a lower-cost, more mainstream version of their Vision Pro headset. The one people were tentatively calling Vision Air.
The one meant to bring spatial computing to more people. Why cancel that?
It seems the resources are being completely shifted. The new priority, fast-tracking the development of AI-powered smart glasses.
Smart glasses. Like Google Glass tried years ago.
Sort of, but likely much more advanced and integrated. The feedback on the current Vision Pro, the really expensive one, hasn't been universally positive. Some reports have called it, maybe harshly, an overpriced toy with no practical value.
Ouch. And developers aren't sticking around.
That seems to be a key indicator. There's been a reported 25% drop in developers building apps for the Vision Pro platform since it launched. That signals a lack of confidence, or maybe a lack of a clear use case for that kind of fully immersive, expensive headset right now.
So instead of trying to put us in a virtual world, they're focusing on adding information to our real world.
That looks like the pivot, moving away from immersive virtual reality towards more practical, everyday augmented reality. These AI smart glasses wouldn't be about blocking out the world, but overlaying useful AI-driven information onto your view. Think navigation, notifications, maybe translation, all seamlessly integrated.
That sounds like it would need a whole new operating system to work well.
Almost certainly. And rumors suggest they're developing exactly that. There's talk of a new OS codenamed Charismatic. Apparently, this OS isn't just for the glasses.
Oh.
It's expected to power other future Apple devices, too, like a rumored new smart home hub and maybe even that tabletop robot assistant people have been speculating about for 2026 or 2027, a unified OS for their next generation of ambient computing.
How does this potential Apple product compare to what's already out there? Meta has glasses with Ray-Ban, right?
They do, the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses.
Yeah.
But analysts seem to think Apple's eventual offering will be quite different. While Meta's glasses have cameras and some basic display features, the expectation is Apple will focus heavily on privacy, security, deep AI integration, and crucially, seamless connection with the rest of the Apple ecosystem, iPhone, Watch, etc. That integration could be the killer app.
So this pivot to glasses doesn't mean Apple is slowing down on hardware overall.
Not at all, it seems. Other leaks are still pointing to powerful new hardware across the board. Things like an iPad Pro with a next-gen M5 chip, updated MacBook Pros. It looks more like a strategic refocusing of their next big thing efforts, away from VR headsets and towards AI-driven AR glasses, while still pushing forward on their core products.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today. From the political gridlock and economic fallout of the U.S. shutdown
To the massive logistical puzzle of the 2026 World Cup across North America.
the streaming wars heating up in the Western genre, that intimate new look at Frida Kahlo's beginnings.
And finally, Apple making a major bet on AI smart glasses instead of VR.
It really feels like a moment of volatility and big strategic shifts across the board.
It does. But, let's loop back to that very first story, the finance one, for a final thought, because there's something really unsettling buried in there about just knowing what's going on.
You mean the economic data blackout caused by the shutdown?
Exactly. The official government jobs report for September, can't get it. The data collection stopped.
Right.
But we did get data from ADP, the big private payroll company. And the report showed that private companies actually cut 32,000 jobs in September.
Cut jobs, but I thought wages were still rising.
They are, according to ADP. So private payrolls shrinking for the first time in ages, the biggest drop in over 2 years, yet wages are still going up. It's a confusing picture.
And the official government data that could help clarify it is just missing.
Precisely. So the provocative question is, how can anyone, whether it's the Federal Reserve making huge decisions about interest rates, or just us trying to understand the economy, how can we know what's truly happening when our main sources of objective data are being switched off because of political fights?
It's like trying to navigate in a fog. You don't know if you're slowing down, speeding up, or heading off a cliff.
Exactly. What is the real state of the economy when the measurement tools themselves become casualties of political dysfunction? It makes you wonder how reliable our picture of reality is right now.
That is definitely something to chew on. Thank you, as always, for breaking down these complex stories.
My pleasure. We really hope this deep dive gave you some clarity and context today.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you tomorrow for another episode.